The views and opinions expressed by this program's hosts, guests, listeners, and viewers are solely the views and opinions of the original source who expresses them. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of TV5 Network Incorporated, its subsidiaries and affiliates, and their respective stockholders, directors, officers, and employees.
Sounding off from Los Angeles, the undisputed king of podcasting, who's all about the good times, Mo Twister. Representing New York City, a social media monster and co-creator of the Not Bill Walton Twitter feed, Chris Savage. All the way from Sydney, Australia, a basketball media veteran and unapologetic cultural critic, Bradford Graham. Holding it down from Manila, a seasoned sportscaster with the studio skills to pay the bills, Jinno Rufino. This is Full Court Report.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Full Court Report. We are four guys in four cities from all over the world. We're giving our points of view on NBA basketball. My name is Mo. I'm in Los Angeles. We have Chris Savage in New York, Brad Graham in Sydney, and in studio, of course, is Jinno Rufino, Manila, by the way. And usually, in the past, I kind of wanted to start off with this. Off air, we would talk about how people don't really get excited about the NBA until Christmas. I think, Chris, that was your line. And it made sense when I first heard it. I was like, oh, yeah. But I just feel like this year, I've thoroughly enjoyed every night of the early NBA season. The storylines, the historical runs, the conflict. It's all been really entertaining. And we're here to talk about these stories. And I'm taking quarter number one for what seems to be, the third episode in the row. I'm going to be talking about the Golden State Warriors, right?
You can't deserve it. We cannot not talk about the Warriors, though.
That's right. All right, so control room, clock starts now. Let's do another 12 minutes of Warriors. Here we go. Now, last episode I posted the question, where will the Warriors be by today's recording? And I think it was Brad and I who had it at 15-0, which of course...
No, I said it.
Did you have it also?
I had it.
The three of us? I'm sorry. Hey, wait a minute. Time out. Sorry, so Jinno...
The Clippers would beat them.
Right, Jinno, Brad, and myself said 15-0. Obviously, everybody knows tying the best start of all time, and it is the best start ever by a defending champ as well. Now, there's a good reason that the debate is still being talked about. Like, where are the Dubs in the all-time list of best teams? Now, so many people tend to look at the past for the best evers because of nostalgia. They grew up watching a certain team and a certain player, and because they were at awe, in their childhood, okay, that's the best ever. But don't neglect the Warriors team in that list, man. I think, and I've said it before, I think this is the best team that I've ever seen. They should likely break the best start of the year tomorrow at home against the Lakers. I said in a previous episode, I don't see them at least losing till December 5th, if at all, against Toronto, in Toronto. What needs to happen for you guys, the three of you, to agree with me that this is the best team ever? Is it a back-to-back title? Is it beating the 72 wins? Is it ludicrous? I'm going to even talk about this. Is it ludicrous to say that Steph Curry can win this year's NBA Most Improved Player coming off of MVP year last year? Or is this all too early and I'm just excited? Please,
you're a little
grill
excited. The NBA is about dynasty, so they would have to at least win back-to-back. But you're saying this is the best team you ever saw. I don't know if you were in a coma in 1996. The Bulls have proven to be better. Now they can beat the Bulls this year. I won't discount that. But this is a dynasty type of league. They have to win at least two. Two back-to-back is even better than anything Popovich did. A 70-win team would be great too. And back-to-back MVPs for Steph. Plus, the most improved player is not out of the question. They would be in the upper echelon if they win another title and do all those things this year. At least top 5 teams of all time. At least we could be arguing that.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have been on a roll. And there's a reason why Popovich hasn't won back-to-back championships with the Spurs, because it's not easy to do that. And you see it. When they come out of a championship the following year, they come out of the gates a little bit slow. Also because they don't need a top seeding in the postseason. But the Warriors, they came out the gates guns blazing. and it's so fun to watch, and it's also mind-boggling how they've been able to do it. Like they've
Right, and listen, you said a line, Jinno. Popovich hasn't won back-to-back. Popovich, not the Spurs. You give a lot of credit to the coach. Listen, this Dubs team, they've won the championship with a rookie coach last year. Their best start ever this season, also with a kind of rookie coach. He's not even their coach, right? He's a kind of rookie sub-in coach. They're doing it with teamwork.
Yep.
Some of these other teams that we talk about, they have these coaches that get so much accolades, they get so much respect, and they deserve it. But these guys are doing it with rookies. They don't have their coach, yet they can coach themselves into coming from behind by 23 against on the road against a legitimate playoff and title contender, the Clippers. And they do it without their coach. So not to discredit Walton, but come on. They do it on talent, chemistry, decision-making. It's not coming from the huddle. The decision-making is coming from this fast-paced, precise decision by Steph, by Draymond, by Iguodala. It is, like we said, exhilarating and beautiful, like a counterpuncher in boxing. This is the sweet science of basketball that we're seeing here. No coach needed. No coach there.
Right. What's funny, Mo, is the fact that you've got Walton, parading up and down the sidelines, yelling things out at the players. I guarantee you Steph hasn't heard one call that he's made this whole season.
That's right. No,
and,
I'm with you.
Sorry, I've got the headphones on. He's probably playing with some Beats by Dre headphones
right,
on.
during a timeout, it's funny because I'm watching. During the timeout, I see they give him that little board, and he's like, okay, I'm just probably draw a little stick figure, play hangman or something. Yeah, I mean, exactly. All of these things are happening on the court. They're all super sharp.
Right.
You know what's also impressive?
And I think the other thing too.
Go ahead, Brad.
Go ahead, Chris. No, far away.
Yeah, no. What also is impressive, if they win 2 titles, especially if Kyrie comes back for the Cavs, they win 2 titles during the LeBron, if you will, the LeBron era. That makes it a lot more impressive as well. That's a huge thing.
Sure.
Right, because if you think of the Rock, you talked the dynasties earlier, like the Rockets only get accredited with their dynasty. Hakeem only went back to back because Jordan was off, chasing his baseball, his diamond dreams. And so, you talk about what will it take for this Warriors team to be considered the best of all time? They need to win, in my opinion, a three-peat. I don't think back-to-back's going to do it. LeBron did back-to-back, Hakeem did back-to-back, but we don't put those teams up in the same category that we do Shaq's Lakers, Michael's Bulls, Magic's, or even Bird's Celtics, Magic's Lakers, sorry. So for me, if they can go 3 in a row, all right, we can have that conversation about greatest team of all time.
Well, greatest dynasty of all time. I'm talking about greatest single season team of all time. Can it be this year?
Yeah, look, go undefeated. Go undefeated at home, win 70 games, collect another title. And again, it's about point differential. And what's interesting for me, and I just want to sort of throw this in, is they've made teams look like the Washington Generals. I mean, they're embarrassing pro players. And again, that's what's so startling about it, is that, these are veteran guys who have, spent their entire lives learning the trade, and they're all made to look like chumps. And I don't know if that's just Steph and his beautiful eyes mesmerizing everybody, or if it's, something else, something, more, less sort of tangible at play here. But man, whatever they've done, they've thrown a spell over the NBA, and they're pulling all the strings.
And you look at the way the games have been played out too. I mean, they were killing people early in the season. Then they sort of came back down to earth when they played against the Wolves, the Brooklyn Nets, who brought them to overtime, and then the Raptors for the Raptors. And then after that, they played the Clippers. And this is perhaps the biggest game early on in this season. And in that game, they showed they definitely are the best team in the NBA, no question. Being down 20-something points in the
23,
first,
right?
23 points,
23.
and then they rally, and then you see it now. After that game, the confidence is back up, and they beat the Bulls,
and they're shattering confidence as Brett said about teams. And we'll talk about the Clippers in your quarter coming up next. But hey, I have a question: when will not having Kerr hurt this team, or will it never hurt them? I mean, we talked about coaches a little while ago.
Right now they've got Steph Curry and Harrison Barnes and guys literally falling over making shots. Like these guys are just so lucky right now, in so many ways that I don't know. I mean, maybe the All-Star break. It's like, but if they've jumped out to a 40-5 record, it sort of brings into question the actual effectiveness of the NBA coach when you've got a transcendent player running the team.
Right.
And it's an infectious situation right now in Golden State that, you know what, these guys are motivated, they care, there's still a clear chip on their shoulder. And I think the thing that makes it so exciting is not the unpredictability from game to game, but from quarter to quarter. I mean, there's heat checks going on left, right, and center. You know, you're seeing all sorts of highlight plays, and what Steph is doing, man, it's one of those things that it's kind of like you know, seeing your favorite actor at the peak of their game, just performances that you just sort of can feel in your stomach that, you know, it's like Daniel Day-Lewis just going to town on co-stars, and you just think, man, I feel sorry for the person that's got to try and stop that.
Well, Brad, I'll equate them to something maybe I definitely you and Jinno will get the reference to. I equate this Warriors team to Wu-Tang Clan circa 1993. Young, hungry, already on top, no weaknesses in the roster, and clearly Golden State ain't nothing to F with, man. They are phenomenal. Now, I will say this, though. Don't play up the whole coaching thing too much. Brad said it properly. If you have transcendent players, coaches are important to a degree. But let's look at just recently. LeBron went to the finals with a bunch of scrubs and Mike Brown. A young Eric Spoelstra he went to 4 times with. David Blatt, a rookie last year, and they could have won if it wasn't for injuries. So, you know, coaches are important to a degree, but if you have a transcendent player or multiple players on a team that can really get it done, you know, you could do it without a particularly good coach. It's sometimes bad coaches get in the way, but, you know, average coaches, you can still win a title that way.
You know, I start sometimes I think because we're so early into the season, we have to start every bold statement with a disclaimer. It's early, but can does Steph have a chance here of, and I said it earlier, winning NBA's most improved player coming off of an MVP year, likely the front runner again this year? Do you think the NBA would, or at least the people who vote for it, would give Steph a most improved player?
It's not out of the question. It's really not out of the question.
Why not? Because he's clearly better than he was last year. And
that's absurd. Come on,
right. He's better. He's more efficient. He is more accurate. Okay, he is better than he is last year.
He's already won an MVP. The only trophy that he's in the contention for is MVP again. And if he somehow ends up getting 5 steals a game, then he might be in the conversation for defensive player. But that's it. They're not going to give him a less. I mean, look. There's no way. He's MVP or bust. That's it. That's the only trophy he can be.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know if stats dictate most improved player, but 51%, upwards of 51% from the field, and he shoots from such distance. But I mean, that's big. Those are big guy numbers coming from little guy style. I mean, that's fantastic.
It won't happen. It's not out of the question, but it won't happen. Just like stats don't dictate MVPs either. It just happens to be the person on the best team who's among the top 3 in the league. Same with most improved player. They're not going to give it to someone who already won the MVP, but it should. He should be in the running for it. It's not out of the question. My question though is when they have the record, they're going for the record tomorrow. They're playing Jinno's Lakers and Kobe. With Kobe having this history on the line, do you think he's going to throw up 40 shots tomorrow? Put up more shots?
I absolutely single-handedly. I know that he will single-handedly try to beat them. He doesn't want to be part of this record, but it's just not going to happen. There's not enough ability there for Kobe to stop them in Oakland. Yeah, he's gonna throw up.
He's gonna be taking half-court shots. Talking about the Washington Generals, he's gonna think he's a Globetrotter.
Or they're gonna be down by 30 at the half, and he's gonna be like, "Okay, I'm going to the locker room. I can't see this. I don't even want to be in the highlight reel. I'm just gonna go ahead and call it a night." Hey guys, listen, we only have a short amount of time. Real quick, I know that we like playing predictions here of winning, losing, all that. When will they lose? Instead of how much are they gonna win? When will they lose? Can you guys give me a prediction? I don't know if you've got the schedule, but I said, at the earliest, the game that I'm worried about is December 5 in Toronto, and then maybe December 12 in Milwaukee, because that's going to be part of a back-to-back, second game of a back-to-back on the road in Milwaukee on the 12th. If not those two, then man, I don't see them losing till Christmas against the Cavaliers, but that would be in Oakland.
It is scary, but I mean that long road trip that they're going to start in end of November. Mm-hmm. I actually think that the one against Utah, the one against Utah is not impossible.
It's always a team that you least expect. Always a team you least expect.
Yeah, but those games are not even back-to-back games. There's like a 3-day break between I think they play the Kings and then Utah after that. They had a lot of time off before that Utah game. They'll be fine.
All right, Mo, here's a prediction for you. They'll lose the day Philadelphia wins.
Boom.
Fair enough.
I'll take that. Let's stick with that.
I'll take that. All right, we got to get out of here. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we have quarter number 2. We said that it was going to be Jinno talking about the Clippers and seeing what's going on over there in Los Angeles. It's Full Court Report. Back after this. Don't go away. Hey, we're back. It's the Full Court Report. We are starting quarter number 2, and we are passing the rock over to Jinno in Metro Manila. Jinno, you're going to be talking about the Clippers. You're on the clock, buddy. What do you got for us?
Thanks, Mo. Now, the Clippers started the season 4 straight wins, and everybody was like, okay, maybe this team's going to work. Maybe they'll find it, they'll figure it out, and there's going to be no turmoil with this team full of characters. Then they lose, they have some tough losses with Chris Paul and JJ Redick out. Chris Paul rejoins the team in perhaps the most entertaining NBA game I've ever seen in November. I don't think I've ever seen a game in November that I was so amped to watch. And watching that game, it looked like it was being played in the playoffs. Then, what's really alarming for me is that after that game, after that heartbreaking loss, usually teams would want to get back out there right away and do as much as they can to get the win. But they lose 2 straight games right after that to Portland and Toronto. They currently have a record of 6 wins and 7 losses, the worst start in the Chris Paul era in being part of the Clippers. Now, to make matters worse, after the loss against the Raptors the other day, Josh Smith and an unnamed assistant coach had this shouting match in the locker room, which members of the media heard outside the locker room. That's how loud it was. So you know that there's something going on there that's not very pleasant. And Doc Rivers said that it happens more than you think after games. So is it time to press the panic button if you're the Clippers? I say yes. I say it is time to press that panic button for several reasons. I think my number one reason is you look at this team and there's no way they're going to beat the teams such as, I'll throw even the San Antonio Spurs out there, maybe even the OKC Thunder. But they're not going to beat the Warriors in the playoffs. And this team is supposed to be a championship caliber team. And obviously, what happened against the Warriors a couple nights ago, they're not going to win a championship. And their window is closing. And if they want that window to be a little bit, they have a chance, they have to make some moves. Otherwise, forget it. They're going to make the playoffs as a number 3 seed or a number 2 seed at best in the Western Conference, and that's it. Because they're not going to advance past the Warriors at all.
Well, listen, I'll take it first real quick. By the way, you push the panic button on the Clippers, but you don't push the panic button on the Lakers. I love how that works out for you, Jinno. I don't push the panic button. This is a talented team. I feel like the chemistry on this squad is fine. They can't beat the Warriors, you're right. They can't beat them in the regular season, and they can't beat them in the playoffs, but it doesn't mean they stop trying. Going into the West with a number 2 seed, you never know what's going to happen. Yes, they're certainly not the favorites, but what if you get an injury to one of the big stars over there in Golden State? Then all of a sudden, they're just as good as they are, and they can easily represent the West and maybe even win a title. They are that good of a team. They're just having a little rough patch right now. No worries. Everybody just relax a little. 6 and 7, but how many other teams are there in the West that are losing records?
But you have to remember that Gino's going to say anything that makes his Lakers look better. He wants to push the.
I get you, man. But yeah, Brad, what do you got? What do you got on these Clippers?
Well, man, look, the thing with it is this. You know what? If I'm Doc, I hold an anonymous vote. I ask everyone on the team, where do you think we need the most improvement? What do you think it is? If it's rebounding, I tell my guys inside, you've got until Christmas. If you don't start getting us wins, I'm starting to make phone calls and someone's going to be sent somewhere else in the country. Because I think what's missing here is some sort of leadership, whether it's Chris Paul owning up to him, not finding the guys for the shots they want, or whether it's Blake, they're trying to sort of force him into being the franchise, sort of go-to guy when essentially he's better served, as a secondary piece. Because right now it seems like what they're doing is they're serving us stale bread when what they should be is French pastry chefs. We want to see some delicacies from this team. We want to see them, get back to Lob City. Basketball used to be fun for this team. Now it just looks like a job. Now they're just showing up, they're getting beaten. And you know what, as far as I can tell, I wouldn't push the panic button, but I definitely let everyone on this roster know if you don't sort of clean up this act and sort of find some sort of unity, I'm starting to make phone calls and one of you might be gone by the new year.
Isn't that pressing the panic button?
That is
no, because bit. I don't think they need to be overhauled. I just think you need to let the guys figure it out internally. It's one of those things that there's still 87% of the season to go. They've still got time up their sleeves. If they were nearing the deadline and they were still, below 500, yeah, I honestly think Houston's in more trouble than what LA is.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that LA's got clear sailing from here on out. I mean, clearly they're taking on water. And yeah, I don't.
But
think
they
there's a
have an
simple solution.
MVP candidate on their team, though, Brad. It will right itself, won't it? I mean, Blake Griffin is fantastic this year.
You mean?
Yeah, but
go ahead, Chris.
Those guys, the makeup of those guys, they've had Blake Griffin was always ascending. Chris Paul's been an MVP candidate. They're going from Lob City to Choke City, if you will. They already proven they can't get it done. Now there's questions in the locker room, which Doc says happens often. Which I wonder. The reporters heard Josh Smith argue with an assistant coach through a thick wall. Was that thick wall built from all the bricks Josh Smith put up this whole season? But regardless, that the Clippers are supposed to have leadership within the veterans that they brought in, within Doc Rivers' steady hand. The next question I have is, Blake Griffin should be a number one on the court, but is he number one in the leadership department?
No,
I don't think he is.
Not.
I can tell that's not his makeup. And then who's going to step up if it's not him?
Well, it should be Chris Paul. And if it's not Chris Paul, it should be somebody who's new. Which you mentioned the veterans that they brought in, and they brought in 3 veterans in Paul Pierce, Josh Smith, and Lance Stephenson. Now, Lance Stephenson, I don't even remember the last time I saw Lance Stephenson play. And these guys combined, they're averaging 15 points per game. And their offense is suffering. I mean, I know they have problems in their defense, but their offense, they're not putting enough points on the board, especially when CP3, JJ Redick, and Blake aren't playing. So I mean, they're going to need some production from these veterans that they brought in. I know that somebody like a Paul, specifically more for me, Lance and Josh Smith, because Paul Pierce, he's supposed to be kind of resting now. He's not supposed to be playing. He's supposed to be playing at the second half of the season and in the playoffs. So, I mean, this is probably, I'm not surprised with the Paul Pierce numbers, but I am a little bit shocked that Lance Stephenson and Josh Smith haven't really shown themselves at all so far.
What were you
this
expecting
season.
from these guys? I'm sorry, I just need to ask you. What
Okay.
were you expecting? Okay, because Lance Stephenson was awful last year. He's awful this year. Josh Smith, why are we surprised that they're using a yelling match? We've been talking about this for weeks now on the show. That
I guess
these are expected things from these guys. We're complaining about Josh Smith and Lance Stephenson because we're supposed to be complaining about Josh Smith and Lance Stephenson.
I mean, I remember like maybe in episode 1 or episode 2 of the podcast, I did say that the Clippers are one of my must-watch teams in the NBA because of how volatile that they can be, and this is exactly what's happening right
so
now.
why are we surprised?
Must-watch because of the way they choke at the end of the game too. They're must-watch for a lot of reasons.
I'm not shocked at how volatile they are. I'm a little bit shocked on how they came out against the Raptors and against Portland after that devastating loss against the Warriors. I really thought that after that loss against the Warriors, they would be able to band together and figure things out. Maybe not right after, because they had a back-to-back against Portland after that. But against the Raptors, I thought that they would handle the Raptors, but
that's
didn't.
more of a reason why you have to question the makeup of this team.
Yeah.
The great teams bounce back from that. The ones who have a weak mental makeup do not. So I guess the question to you, Jinno, since you're bringing it up, is when do you press the panic button? Here?
Me now. I press it now because I know it's November.
So what do you do?
I know it's November. I know it's very early in the season, and Mo, you're right. Maybe they'll be able to figure things out later on. But I mean, the fact is that they're not going to beat the Warriors in the playoffs. They're not. I don't think they can beat the Spurs. I don't think they can beat the Thunder. And if this team is supposed to win a championship in the next couple of years, they're not going to get it done. So you may as well try and shop around people right now while they still could get you something before this team starts spiraling some more.
You think DeAndre Jordan's on the phone to Mark Cuban saying, "Is that offer still standing?
Take me back. Take me back." Mo,
what changes?
The ship is going to right itself. So
it will.
It's a very competitive West. We already spoke about the Rockets. They might right themselves. That's probably not going to happen. When do you press the panic button? You don't at all. You just let it happen.
I just think, what changes can you make even if you say want to press the panic button? At small forward, no other pieces can be moved from that starting squad. The team is deep. We haven't even said Austin Rivers, and he's going to get some playing time, as we always love to talk about. So you're not going to fire the coach. So I don't think it's
here and there.
Who's there to bench? And you're right. They're mentally weak, but they're too talented to not. Like, they're too talented to fail. And I think when you have those two things, the ship will be put back.
Mo,
go.
When you talk about failure for the Clippers is not winning the championship. And they're not going to win the championship in the next
We
couple
don't know
years.
that yet. No,
Oh,
we
they're
don't know
not.
that yet.
They're not.
Listen,
If the
they're not
Warriors
the
have an injury,
favorites.
you're calling
If the Warriors have
the
injury, which
greatest
is
team of all time.
listen,
It's an
anybody
injury.
at any injury. Listen, the Thunder. Who thought the Thunder could finish as awful as they did the other year? Because Kevin Durant is playing 82 games a year. He's playing 80 games a year. All of a sudden, he goes down, and the season goes down. Once one guy goes down, it makes everything so much more wide open for teams who maybe are not the favorites to step in and be a formidable championship threat.
As a franchise, as a team, you can't count on injuries to benefit you.
Well, you can't quit.
Well,
you can't quit. You can't just sit there and go, well, we're not going to play anymore then because we're not the favorite to win.
But that's why they have to at least start thinking about making some moves now. Because
What moves can you make?
Yeah,
Okay, fine. If Chris
Yeah,
says,
you know
all right,
what,
bench
you know what?
somebody, what?
If I was going to say, if you look, you bring in a counselor, you see if Dr. Phil's available one afternoon, and if that doesn't,
Phil Jackson.
if that doesn't work, if that doesn't work, you sit them down and you say, we're going to watch Van Damme movies, no retreat, no surrender until you're ready to go. And you just sort of put him in some sort of like, you put him in a weekend away. Maybe you just mix up the schedule a little bit in terms of like, you know what, if these guys, aren't performing in their routines, kind of messing with their heads and they're, fragile on the psychology side of things. You know what, man, this is, a rich owner and a competent sort of coach. It doesn't seem like they're far from figuring it out, but man,
they
it's
just
like
need
the
one big
current
win.
trajectory there.
But
Again, you know what? If they don't get a big win, they at least need to chalk up another 20 moral victories.
They've got an easy schedule coming up in the next 5-6 games. If they don't come out winning record after 5, 6, 7 games, then fine, maybe I'll consider a panic button of some kind. But right now, no way, no how. They're too talented to be this bad.
Yeah, I agree. They're not panic button status yet, but I mean, I would get that button ready, man. Just get your finger over it because it's not looking good.
It's not looking good, and it's not going to get any better. They really have to think about moving. I'm not saying that they have to really like pound on that panic button, but they really have to at least, favor it a little bit and be like, okay, it might be time to at least start thinking about some moves. And it's, you have $9 million tied in with Lance Stephenson, and that's something that I could probably think about. It's $9 million.
Ouch.
Is he worth $9 million? No. I mean, Josh Smith signed for the veterans minimum, and that's fine. But I mean, Lance, he's got to produce more than what he's doing now, and it's pretty sad.
A team that's known for flopping so much, I wouldn't be shocked if their season flops too.
Okay, time's up. I was gonna say one last thing though. I mean, that road trip in December that they have, that could be the time that they can fix this, because when you're on the road, teams kind of get together better.
I like how Jinno says we fix this.
What did I say?
You already adopted the other. You've already adopted the other LA team. Yeah, you said we fixed this.
No, they're so bad. He thought they were talking about the Lakers, so that's what happened. He said we. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we will do our halftime show where we get a little bit casual about our topic. Don't go away. You're listening to the Full Court Report. Back after this.
It's halftime on Full Court Report, and this is a segment where we walk away from basketball and discuss topics from pop culture to personal lives of all the co-hosts. And today's topic is favorite destination, whether it be for work or play. And my co-hosts have a lot more travel experience than me. So I'm going to kick it off first to Mo Twister over in LA. Mo, love to know what your favorite destination was that you visited.
Well, I mean, probably my answer for this, or at least my answer for this, would be my biggest surprise, because there are cities there that I frequent, that I try to go several times a year, like New York City. My heart, of course, very much New York City, Paris, stuff like that. This is San Francisco. I just came from San Francisco over the weekend. These are cities that I like to frequent. But my answer would be the most surprising and now the most beautiful city that I've ever seen is Cape Town, South Africa. I wasn't expecting it to be as beautiful as it was. It has natural beauty. They've got a great downtown city. There's a vineyard nearby. There's penguins walking around. There's fucking baboons like in the fucking. Am I saying the F word? I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I'm so passionate about these baboons, man. They're running all over.
From now on,
to the Warriors. You must love it more than the Warriors.
Yeah, no, sincerely, it's a beautiful city. I'm sorry. There's whales. There's great white sharks, all within the city's reach. So you can just kind of jump on a boat, throw some blood on the water, and great white sharks just jumping out. It's just a fantastic city. And they've got a nice modern downtown as well. It's not maybe something you might see in the movie. So Cape Town, South Africa, my most beautiful city I've ever been to.
Would have never expected that. Jinno, I'll kick it over to you. What about you, man?
Well, if you take away cities that I I used to live in that I visited for work, like Boston, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Uh, I would say that probably my favorite city for that I've gone on vacation or work would probably be Seville in Spain, and I went there for the FIBA World Cup in 2014, and that it's one of the most beautiful cities that I've seen, and being there for that, the Philippines' first time in the World Cup in 40 years. And I think that made it extra special because going around the city with the Philippine team and the rest of the Philippine media, that was a lot of fun, and seeing the sights and experiencing with them, with the players, especially what it meant for the country and what it meant for the Philippines being part of that tournament.
Great.
That's not a bad
Bradford,
city
what
either.
about you, man?
For me, man, there's only one destination that I call home outside of my home country of Australia, and that's New York effing City, man. I love everything
New York
about
City!
that place.
The baboons, man, in New York, man. They're
The
awesome.
baboons in New York.
Whoa, careful how you say that. But go ahead, man.
Chris, here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. You know when I love it most? I love it in February. Man, it doesn't
Sure.
snow where I come from. And I love being caught up in the blizzards. Mo and I were stuck there at All-Star Weekend. And it was
Absolutely.
so cold, it was hurting me. So what is the first thing I do, man? I get on the phone. I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, it hurts so bad. Like, I love this place. I love everything about
We
it.
found a
And so it's
masochist.
just one of those
We
places.
found a
Yeah, man.
masochist.
You know what? I got so many cool stories from that city. I got so many friends in that city. And every time I'm there, you know what? I don't sleep for 3 days. I get hooked on pizza. Man, everything about it from top to bottom. You know what? I've been all over the boroughs and just everything about New York City just screams home to me. So that's my pick, Chris.
Can I throw in? I know we're running out of time though. Can I just throw a quick Brad story? So Brad and I were walking in New York City, and I live near a Shake Shack, and he loves Shake Shack, Brad. And I remember the Shake Shack was right next to a Mexican restaurant that was really popular, and you could see Brad going up to the window in the Mexican restaurant, going, "What are you guys doing? There's a Shake Shack right next door. You idiots are spending all this money." And I just thought it was the funniest thing. Yeah, New York is a great answer, and I absolutely love
great.
it for the same reasons you
I
do.
don't know about New York in February, but still a great answer.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprised. February in New
that
York
is.
is painful.
No, I hear Blizzard. I buy a
I've been there
ticket.
in the summer too, man. You know what? I got lucky one year
Which
and I
is
got to spend
also-
4th of
which is
July
also
with
just
a
as
Puerto Rican
painful.
family. So it's good
New York in the
times.
summer is also as painful, man. It's all about
Sure.
the spring.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with Brad though. I'll take winter over summer in New York any day. Chris, what do you
Yeah,
got?
no, absolutely.
Best city.
So I'm not as well traveled. I actually don't like leaving the United States that much. It's just a little pet peeve I have, but I don't mind leaving once in a while. So for me, and I'll give you the backdrop. I went to multiple bachelor parties, but this one was pretty recently up in Montreal. Great city, but this wasn't my answer.
Yeah.
I had a couple days off of work after Montreal, which is a great city. Decided to drive through the rest of Quebec into Ontario. And I just saw all the areas of Ontario into my final destination, Toronto. And boy, I love
great city.
Toronto. Diverse
Great
city, a lot of stuff to do. The women of all different United Colors of Benetton, if you will. Oh boy, dude, I love Toronto. It was a great city. And I'm glad I took that road trip because I had a couple days off of work and I want to go back. And so I heard the NBA All-Star game is being
That's
played over there. So that doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt until it's negative 44 in Toronto come February. during the All-Star
Without the
game.
wind chill.
Yeah, it's
Well,
going to be
Brad will
awesome.
enjoy that. He'll be running around in his skivvies.
All right, listen, time's up, but also another great answer. Toronto is just a beautiful, beautiful city. And the lake over there, the downtown, the Sky Dome, all that great stuff. That's a really great answer as well, Chris. So, hey, I enjoyed this. This one went by really quick. It's a good one. Let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we have our second half. Third quarter is going to be led off by Chris, if I'm not mistaken, yes?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. It's the Full Court Report. Back after this. Don't go away. That's right. We have a crowd now on the Full Court Report. If you hear all that noise in the background, those are our fans of the show, man. We
buddy.
have them in, sit in the arena. Why not? You're listening to the Full Court Report. We have, was it second half now? I think quarter number 3 is going to be led off by Chris in New York City. Chris, what do you got for us? You're on the clock.
Well, in the first half, we spoke about two teams getting a lot of attention for different reasons. I want to speak about a team that's not getting the attention they deserve, and year after year, it's the same thing in the regular season, and that's the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of ways to me, when I think of the San Antonio Spurs, I think of that in that cheesy 80s movie. They're that best female friend that you had that's always around, but you're always chasing the pretty girl in school and the prom queen and all that stuff. And then you realize at the end of the movie that they're the one. They're the one that is the best. You want to be with them.
Great analogy.
That's awesome.
That's what they are. You know what? And this year, the Warriors definitely deserve the most attention. There's no question. But the Spurs, you have to call
you in the beginning.
The second best team in the NBA, even with their hiccup against the Pelicans. They thrashed the Suns today. I mean, it was without Bledsoe. But defensively, they're the best team in the NBA, not just in points allowed, but even points per possession. They're among the best teams in offensive categories, top 5 or 10 in the league. Tim Duncan has been a defensive stopper, kind of like how David Robinson was towards the end of his career in his new role. Ginobili's having a renaissance in just being one of the most efficient players in a short, limited amount of time. Parker's doing well. They're getting good
recently
exposure from their bench. One thing that's not working out for them, well, two things, is LaMarcus Aldridge hasn't fit into the role so much, but I think he'll be fine. Danny Green's the one that scares me because, I mean, he's just atrocious to watch. It's like going to the dentist watching him, only I don't have Novocaine to help me numb myself. But the biggest story for that team is the emergence of Kawhi Leonard, already the Defensive Player of the Year last year, already the Finals MVP 2 years ago, but he's just becoming that superstar. And a team that's team-first concept, for him to put up great individual numbers and really break through is a huge story. He's averaging almost 22 a game, had a huge night today versus the Suns, about 8 rebounds, shooting over 50%, 45% from three-point range. This guy he's already a star. He'll make his first All-Star team this year, but I think he's on the brink of superstardom. So I want to talk to you guys about, tell me what you think about the Spurs, not only their chances, but is LaMarcus going to kind of settle into that role? And what are they going to do from the minute standpoint for the older guys? Because I think they have it resolved, because Kawhi will take a lot of minutes off of them, and I think LaMarcus will too. And I also want to get your guys' feedback on Kawhi Leonard. I mean, do you think he's the next big superstar? Talk to me about that, guys.
I don't know about the next big superstar, but definitely a superstar for the Spurs. I mean, is he going to be a household name? Maybe not, but that's the way the Spurs like it, though. I mean, they don't like. I mean, they prefer it where they are right now, kind of being under the radar. I guarantee you, they're happy that the Warriors are getting all the spotlight right now, and the Clippers to some extent, and the Rockets for wrong reasons. But the Spurs, this is exactly where they want to be. They're coasting around. They're winning games. They dropped a few games here and there, but it's nothing. It's nothing to be alarmed about. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge, I know we'll figure it out with him and the Spurs. Like you said, Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili have been playing pretty well, and they've been pretty healthy. And I think that's just what the Spurs need in order for them to be able to succeed this season. And if they're healthy come playoff time, watch out.
Yeah, they are succeeding this season. They look great, and they look great with two major parts of their starting lineup not performing very well. So, in fact, they can get better. Danny Green he was a really good player last year. Not a great player, but a really good one. He's a good defensive player, hits clutch threes, and he contributed well. He's awful right now. I think 30% from the field, 33% from the field. LaMarcus Aldridge is about in the low 40s% from the field. So these guys can improve still, and when they do, we're talking about a better San Antonio team, one that. Right. If there's anyone, of course, that the Warriors should be scared of, it would be this crew. Now, Kawhi, is he emerging into a superstar? I think absolutely he had the ability to be a superstar last year as well. He just wasn't getting the minutes. The minutes that he would average, 29 a game, 30 minutes a game? Now he did 37 minutes. Yeah, he did 37 minutes tonight in a thrashing,
Is he a top 5 two-way player in the league now?
Is there anybody better than him?
I can't think of anybody else better than him on both ends of the floor.
I mean, AD is up there, but I think Kawhi is among the best. Is he top 3 threes in the league? I mean, you have LeBron, you have KD. Who else is better? Is Carmelo better than him?
No, Carmelo's not better than Kawhi.
So, I mean, why aren't we talking about superstardom?
Because he's quiet. Because they're quiet.
Well, and he doesn't have the persona. It's like that. He doesn't have the marketability, as they say. He doesn't have the gimmick. James Harden's beard. Russell Westbrook's electricity.
I thought the hand though was really starting to catch on last year, though, Brad. Sorry to cut you off, but that the large hand and that being a logo.
Right, but the thing is, it's the same thing. I guess you could almost argue that, like, why wasn't Dikembe Mutombo a household name in some of the ways? Like, Ben Wallace at least had the throw and had something that sort of made him stand out. Now, some of these guys have the respect of their peers, but you're not going to get Madison Avenue knocking on their door looking for marketing campaigns because Kawhi Leonard still wears cornrows. He's still, it seems like that he's better suited to being a guy in a small market team. He's a quiet, kept guy. Maybe it's going to take the NBA continually pushing him. I saw the NBA put him in the Christmas Day campaign. That's going to help. But as far as Popovich is concerned, their job is to win basketball games, not be popular.
Yeah,
right.
So
you guys are talking about superstardom from a marketability standpoint, but for performance on the court, you're already saying that he's there. Are you saying he's already arrived at that level among the elite players in the league?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about it. I don't think there's a player, especially after what we saw him do to, Durant in that sort of opening game. There's not a player in this league that looks at the calendar and says, "Oh, great, the Spurs are coming to town. Oh, I get a night off because Kawhi Leonard's not going to try to, actually shut me down and embarrass me on national TV." So it's at a point now where he's doing his Pippen impersonation. He's really coming out there and wreaking havoc at both ends. And I think amongst his peers and as you said, like the coaches will vote him into the All-Star game. He's already there. I mean, he might even be up for national team eligibility if he continues on this path. So, he's one of America's emerging talents. It's just he just doesn't quite necessarily have the magnetism away from the court to match his on-court ability.
Right. Yeah, that's very accurate, Brad. But the thing is, he's also not. Yeah, exactly. He's not one of those guys who will demand it. And you have guys who are starving for the attention. It's almost like Kawhi doesn't want the attention. And I think that's totally fine.
He's the anti-Carmelo. He's the anti-Carmelo. He doesn't care about what the spotlight of the big market says. Yeah.
Right.
In that sense, he's perfect for the San Antonio Spurs.
Do you remember that MVP Finals MVP? He barely won the attention. He didn't want the cameras on him when he won that. So I do appreciate that about him.
Yeah. So he's just a
modest to the core, man. Super humble, man.
Does it hurt him financially though? The fact that he doesn't have a lot of celebration, he doesn't have a lot of verbal, kind of just angry. And again, it doesn't seem to bother him.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to bother him. That's fine, and that's why Pop has players like that in this team, and that's why they win year after year. So I do want to go back to LaMarcus Aldridge very quickly. Do you think it's an issue right now just getting acclimated to the system, or do you think there's more to that right now? Why he's not performing at the level?
Push the panic button. Push the panic button. We're pushing the panic button.
Well, Mo wants to another panic button to get these guys out of here.
Oh no,
he doesn't want any panic button. So the Warriors have a great run to the title. So no panic button there. It's just him getting use of Pop's system.
Possibly. I mean, we all know LaMarcus to be a guy that in isolation, ball dominant, not ball hog, ball dominant kind of guy, and a very pass heavy system that it's going to take a little bit of time. But again, we're talking about a guy who maybe to a lesser extent than Kawhi might not really care, just as long as we're winning basketball games. I don't care. Now we've not really heard a lot about LaMarcus being the type to complain about the stats or the spotlight. There have been rumors about him not getting along possibly, or him feeling bad about Damian Lillard taking a lot of the fanfare. But he doesn't strike me as the type who's going to have a problem just as long as they're winning games and they're contenders. Okay. And they are.
And that's why he went to the Spurs, right?
Absolutely.
He went home, San Antonio, and of course he went to the Spurs because it's a small market team that wins. And it's kind of what he is. He's kind of the that type of player, similar as Kawhi Leonard, similar as Tim Duncan, maybe Tony Parker and Manu are. If you're looking at this lineup, they're the only two players probably that could are bigger than their status or when you're talking about craving for attention or demanding attention. These two guys probably could use more attention. But because they're playing in the Spurs system and they play for Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs, they go back to the team system. And that's kind of just the way things are with the Spurs culture.
Plus, they know the future really belongs to Kawhi and LaMarcus. I mean, they're going to be the top dogs. So this is just a getting to know each other moment before the two of them really kind of start busting out as just individual superstars on this team.
Now, do you think the Spurs marketability is hurt by the awful haircuts each of them have on the team? Does that play into it at all? With Ginobili with the bald spot and Tim Duncan with a bad edge up and Kawhi, I don't know what's going on there. That's, they need to get that sorted out before anything else, in my opinion.
I think they do it on purpose. So when you look at them, you're not intimidated. Like, boy, look at these guys. Do they know how to ball? And then all of a sudden they ball you out of the arena.
It's pretty bad. So really quickly, guys, I want to transition to other players who are now becoming number ones on their team. I just want to get some feedback from you. If you think they're going to be a steady number one, they're able to continue to be a number one and carry a team, or maybe this is more of a fluke. What I want to do is start with Eric Bledsoe on the Suns. Do you think he's the type of guy who can carry the Suns as a number one team to possibly be perennial playoff contenders?
I think we all love his game. I think we're all kind of big fans. I mean, if you like basketball, you like Eric Bledsoe's game, but I don't know if he's a number one. I think they need a true number one, and he might be an amazing complementary piece, a number two piece. But to carry single-handedly that Phoenix Suns team, and of course with help from, say, Knight, maybe some leadership with Chandler, and Markieff Morris is kind of on and off, hit and miss. He did great tonight. Not enough there to be respectable, but as an individual, I think Bledsoe is better equipped as a second star than a number one, true number one.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I mean, he's definitely a great player, but he
jumped up this year. Yeah,
he's been a fantastic player, but I don't consider him to be the transcendent type player that teams need for their to be the face of their franchise.
What about Derek Favors? That's an interesting one out in Utah.
Oh boy, he's playing well this year.
He is playing well.
Derek
Last year he played well too.
Your number one guy. Your number one guy there is it Gordon Hayward? Is it Rudy Gobert? No, not still.
He does everything.
Yeah. Number one for the Utah on a bad night, they need a guy to step up. He's going to do it, but to be a true number one, maybe like Bledsoe, he's going to need one real good star there to make Utah a formidable team.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got to a couple of those. That'll wrap up.
You want to take a timeout here? You want to take a timeout and throw out a couple? We haven't taken time. Let's throw out a couple more names there because this is a good question.
Let's take a timeout. The next one I have is Isaiah Thomas. Is he in number one?
No, and he's perfect where he is. He's perfect.
He's Jamal Crawford.
Yeah, coming off the bench, dominating the second unit. I mean, that's what Isaiah Thomas is, and that's where he should be, and he's doing fantastic at it. And that's the only place that you'll see him.
You don't see him going into a higher role than that?
No.
Okay, that's fair. I agree with that. We spoke about this a little bit before. I want to revisit this next one. Jimmy Butler.
Bonafide number one.
You think so?
You
trust his shooting. You trust his shooting ability.
Kawhi levels Kawhi levels is a stretch. I'm sorry.
He's a
Kawhi
strong
light
two-way player.
Yeah, Kawhi light and two-way player and can fill up the stat sheet if he just gets the ball. I mean, when
he doesn't know to take over the team yet with the Derrick Rose era, maybe him not being in number one. Is it a weird situation for Butler where he's not assertive enough?
Yes.
I don't think he's assertive enough out of respect to the former MVP. But when Rose is not there, boy, does he look like a legit number one.
Okay. So, those are some of the names we threw out. Great feedback, guys, and we'll finish up the timeout and let's head to the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, if you want to, I love that topic. If you guys want to continue it, you can always tweet us on our individual Twitter accounts. I think Oladipo's another legit number one guy there, too. All right, let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we have the fourth quarter. We're going to have Brad taking control of that one, and we'll be back after this. You're listening to the Full Court Report. All right, welcome back to the Full Court Report. We will move to quarter number 4 now, and we're going all the way down to Australia. Talk to Brad, who is in Sydney. He is taking point guard duties for his topic. So, Brad, it's all yours, buddy. You're on the clock.
Thanks, Mo. All right, man. Look, I don't know if you guys have been paying as much attention to the Indiana Pacers as I have, but, man, Paul, don't call it a comeback George. Man, he's firing on all cylinders. Now, one thing in particular is that he's really sort of, prone to shoot the ball from 15 to 19 feet. He takes the second most shots from that distance, league-wide, second only to Blake Griffin. But apparently that's a big fat no-no, according to the NBA nerd community. So George recently told Candace Buckner of the Indianapolis Star, that he doesn't believe in analytics. And that's just how he is. That's just how he feels. PG went on to say that, Michael Jordan was a mid-range expert. No one complained about it then. And his view is that as long as a player is capable of making a shot, it really shouldn't matter whereabouts on the floor they're shooting it from. So, Chris, I know you're not a big fan of numbers and obsessions over analytics, but I also know you're a big baseball guy where numbers mean the world. Where do you feel, where do you stand on Paul George's, right or stance that, man, analytics ain't all they cracked up to be?
Yeah, analytics do have the place in the pro sports now. I mean, there's a lot of smart people coming up with this information. When you're on the court or on the field, wherever you're playing, it's a lot different when you have just an instinct of the game. So I have to give some of that to Paul George, where he feels most comfortable, throws at all the analytics. But taking those shots that are that long for twos when you could get one more point on a 3-pointer and you're proving to have good field goal percentage there, that is a tough thing to walk away from. But I guess my overall thought on that is if Paul George feels the most comfortable doing that and that's going to enhance his game and clearly is working, you could throw out the analytics a little bit on that one and then let George play his game, do what he's most comfortable with.
Right. Well, look, not everybody can be Steph Curry, so not everyone's going to be able to sort of take that step back and nail it every time. I mean, if he's comfortable in that mid-range, even though everyone's saying it's the death now because basketball's only about dunks and threes, you know what? I don't mind a little old school Paul George, wreaking havoc from mid-range. I think Rip Hamilton did it all throughout his Detroit days, and he was one of the most dangerous players in the NBA, at that time. And it's interesting. I mean, Mo, I know you're another guy that's a big baseball fan and likes the numbers and likes to play fantasy basketball and sort of pays attention to where guys are doing things from. But as Paul George's comments got legs, I mean, no pun intended, obviously.
I don't. That's touche. I don't know. I don't know when it becomes a problem when the analytics have to take over from how a guy is comfortable shooting from 19, 18, 17 feet. Paul George's field goal percentage this season is 43%. That's not impressive by any means. And fine. He wants to take. What is he taking? 18 shots, 19 shots a game? And if a great majority of them are coming from that distance and he's only shooting at 43%, is there going to be an intervention at some point? Well, hey, dude, don't shoot those anymore because you're not hitting them at a respectable...
But the team's winning and he's putting up solid numbers and he clearly seems the most comfortable doing that. What I guess my proposition is it fair to take a player out of their comfort zone, even if the defense is giving it to them, just because somewhere along the lines an accountant says to you, hey, you can earn 3.4% more accuracy if you go and stand 2 feet to the left.
Not if you're Paul George and you're the only star of this team. I mean, you take him out, they're nowhere near the top 4 in the Eastern Conference. You take him out in the Pacers. No, they won't be. Without Paul George, if Paul George feels like the analytics doesn't work for him, and if he feels comfortable where he is and doing the way things the way he does things, then he should go ahead and do it because the Pacers are going to need him to be comfortable in order for them to at least make it to the postseason, which they can, which they're in position to now.
But Jinno, your friend Vogel, right? Now you hand Paul George a binder and it's got 600 pages worth of numbers that are going to help him be a better NBA player, and he says, "Nah, coach, I'm good, no thanks." How do you think that the other side should react to this? Is it the coaches are doing all this work. You got all these number crunchers employed by the front office, but Paul George would prefer to play off instinct. Where do you sort of draw the line on player freedom versus coaching input?
I would let Paul George be Paul George. I mean, if the other players, I would put those analytics in use for the other players because they're the ones who's going to need it more. I mean, it's a double standard. It's a double standard, sure, but at the same time,
I disagree. Someone has to intervene because listen, let's name. Can I just name a couple of players who take the most shots in the NBA? Paul George, obviously one of them. I mean, let me name 10 guys, right? Westbrook, Curry, Lillard, Harden, Cousins, James, Carmelo, Durant, and George, and then Griffin. That's your top 10 of whoever takes the most shots, right? Those superstars that are on winning teams, they all shoot over 50%. So, or maybe Westbrook is the least at 46%. So all the other guys who are shooting the percentage of George's are teams that are not going to win. Cousins, Harden, George, these guys are shooting at low 40s, high 30s.
When you bring up the 43%, this is where analytics come into play. So I'll challenge you on this one. Paul George, and Jinno already brought it up, Paul George has to be the one taking the shots, just like Carmelo Anthony has to be the one taking the shots in New York, or at least he has been that way. So you're the one taking all the difficult shots at the end of the shot clock. You're the ones when you have to bail your team out. We saw LeBron having one of the most unbelievable finals last year, but his field goal percentage wasn't great because he was taking all, if not all the big shots, all the shots. Paul George at 43%, and this is where the analytics help him, is because there's no other people to take these big shots on the Pacers. He has to do it, and 43 is not as bad as you're making it out to be on the team makeup that he has. These other guys you named have supporting casts around him, except maybe Carmelo and a couple other people.
Yeah, you're right in the sense that no one else is going to take these shots. But if they come up with data and they show, hey, Paul, listen, it's not working out. You're taking too many shots from this distance. It's not. Again, it could be worth one more point if you just took three steps back. The long two is a dying shot, and I just don't see it to be as effective if they've got the data that says you should be taking a different kind of shot.
Yeah, but he's the one that's shooting it, and
Right.
as a scorer in any, this is why the analytics sometimes for me it gets a little bit tricky, because if the player, you can't tell Tony Parker to keep on shooting threes where he's more comfortable taking to the basket and shooting inside the paint. Same with Paul George. If he's comfortable taking the mid range, having his game in between the 3-point line and the basket, that's where he should be, because he's the one that's playing. And if you're telling him, come on, you got to take more threes, or you got to attack the rim more often and stop shooting the mid-range jumper, then you're taking him away from what he does best.
I just think there are some guys that you have to tell them that it's not worth it. I know, Chris, you were kind of vocal about this, that we're seeing bigger guys taking longer jump shots. Guys like DeMarcus Cousins, guys like Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin. They're all kind of, sometimes they get into this 2 jump shot kind of happy trigger mode where they're shooting 19-footers.
Analytics, and they're trying to bring these guys out of their comfort zone, and I hate that. And I don't want to see Paul George change his game unless they can have proven data that, hey, if you go a couple feet back, you're going to feel just as comfortable, which might not be true. But I hate seeing the Cousins and the Anthony Davises of the world now try to take threes to kind of transform to the Euro game. It's silly. That basketball's about different matchups, and they're supposed to mesh against each other. And I don't want to see Paul George change. And the analytics say 43% on the type of team he's on is not as bad as you're making it out to be.
Fair enough. I'll take that. Brad.
All right, look, guys, keeping it in the Eastern Conference, it's rare that anyone dares to talk about the Charlotte Hornets, unless, of course, they're talking fantasy sports, because there's lots of value. Exactly.
Michael Jordan?
Exactly. There's still a team. Yeah, there's still a team in Charlotte. They're owned by Michael Jordan, but that's usually as far as it goes. But this team's looked extra good over the early part of this season. They're 7-3 over the last 10 games. They're sneakily good, man. They're taking care of business in the Hive. They've got those extra pretty uniforms, which I'm sure is having an effect, unlike the Clippers, who have the worst uniforms in history. But is anybody buying Nicholas Batum as a franchise guy? He was Player of the Week recently. Batum's put up, incredible numbers. They seem to be doing it as a collective, but Batum seems to also be the guy that's sort of, happily sort of stepping up and taking charge and nailing threes and doing all the things that, you want from a small forward, everything that Lance couldn't do for them last year. Where do you guys sort of fall on this Charlotte team? Chris, I'm going to throw it to you first.
I don't think Batum is a franchise player in the least. I do like the story of what the Hornets are doing. They're a low turnover team. They're getting a lot of contributions from a lot of guys. My favorite player on that team, he's playing in limited minutes, but he's very efficient, and I like his game is Jeremy Lamb. I think he's a nice player. I think the team is filled with nice players. I don't think they have a franchise guy. And
Lamb sanity.
Yeah, until they have a franchise guy, they're always going to be this team that is just mediocre, maybe a little better, a little worse than mediocre. So, I'm not sold on them in the least, and they have a lot of work to do.
I've seen Nicholas Batum be the franchise guy of a team, but that team doesn't play in the NBA. That's the team. That's France. When he played in the FIBA World Cup in Spain, he was dominating that entire tournament, and he wasn't playing for the best team. And so I think that he has the capability of being that leader. Now, does he have the talent? Maybe not. Maybe he's not a franchise type player, but he definitely has the capability of being the leader. And I think that he can do it for this team. Obviously, he's not a superstar in the Kevin Durant type mode, or maybe even a Kawhi Leonard type mode, but he is definitely worthy of being a leader.
Now, he's option number 3 there at best, and he's just doing fine the way he is right now. All right, Brad, I know you, with the 2-minute warning we just passed, you had a little kind of gimmick you wanted here to end the fourth. It's all you, brother.
Yeah, look, guys, I've been doing some research during the week, and I thought I'd throw a little pop quiz out there on the show. Test each of your test your NBA knowledge this week, and
hold on, let me get a Google window up. Let me get a Google tab.
Hold on. Exactly. Yeah. So by the way, you're cheating, guys. Put your iPhones away or your Androids away, whatever. All right,
hands in the air.
All right, Mo. I'll start with you. All right. Now, this may surprise you, but there are 3 starting backcourts where both guards are averaging 20 or more points at the early part of this season. Can you name all 3 backcourts?
Brandon Knight and Eric Bledsoe?
Correct.
Yes. One.
Yes.
Hold on. Now, just after that, I'm stuck already. Do I got a time limit?
Yeah, you got 30 seconds. Hurry up.
You can call a timeout.
20 and over for each of them, right?
I thought we were doing NBA history questions. This is not NBA history.
Crap.
This season, come on,
Buzzer,
Mo. I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. One of them's out west. One of them's out west, and one of them's in the east.
No, that's not a great hint.
Yeah, that's a crappy. Well, I need a list of my teams here. I don't think I got.
Who is it?
I'm out. No, I want to hear the rest of the questions. I'll already pass on this one. I'll take the
Let's
feed.
all jump in if you know the answers. Don't go one by one. What's the next
Yeah,
question?
go. What do you got? Anybody got the answers?
No, I don't have the answers to that one. What's the answers on that one, Brad?
All right, the answer is Portland's Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum.
Ooh,
Damn it! Would have never got that.
Yeah, tough one to get. And the third one is DeMar Rosen and Kyle Lowry.
Oh yeah,
that one should have been an easier one to get. All right,
geez.
go on other
man.
questions. Go on out there.
What's going on? All right. Let me go with this one. All right, Kawhi Leonard recently became the second fastest player to reach 200 career victories, needing just 262 games to get there. But who is ahead of Kawhi on the list? And before you answer, here's a hint. He played alongside Magic Johnson in the 80s Lakers.
James Worthy. Boom.
Byron Scott.
Incorrect.
Byron
Incorrect.
Scott. No.
Michael Cooper.
Incorrect.
Kurt Rambis.
AC Green.
Michael Thompson.
Yes, AC Green.
AC Green.
Virgin.
Oh,
the Virgin strikes
That's
again.
right. The virgin. See, told you.
All right.
God likes them virgins, man. I gotta tell you.
All right, to close it out, here's one final question, and you can all jump in because I know you're all going to want to sort of throw this name out there. We can't go an episode without mentioning this kid. So, which Clippers guard has the same
Austin Rivers.
trade clause as LeBron James?
Yes, Austin Rivers.
Austin Rivers.
Austin Rivers forever.
Yeah, can you believe that? Look. Thanks for playing, but if you're not already mad at Doc bringing his son to work every day, feel free to be outraged because Austin has a no trade clause in his contract, just like LeBron.
That's insane.
Must be nice. Take your son to work day.
King James, King nepotism, right there. I love those two. Hey, that was fun. We got to do that again. Thanks, Brad, for the questions. By the way, we
thanks
suck.
for not knowing your NBA stats.
Yeah,
You know?
Do NBA history next time. Boom.
All right, well, we got to take a break. When we come back, we have our overtime segment. You're listening to the Full Court Report. More when we return. Don't go away. All right, we are back on the Full Court Report. It is overtime. And Brad, I'm going to throw the rock out to you because you have come up with our overtime topic. It's still basketball related, but a little bit more casual. What do you got for us, brother?
Right, thanks, Mo. So on November 24, the Atlanta Hawks are going to retire Hall of Fame center Dikembe Mutombo's uniform. They're also going to retire his credit card from the strip club he visited while he was a member of the Hawks. But for those who don't know, I love those late 90s Hawks, man. You know, even despite the fact that Tyrone Corbin was the starting small forward, I watched so many of those Hawks games, and it was a real pleasure for me to watch Mutombo just lock players down, occasionally get dunked on, but you know what? You can live with that because the guy was putting up, 4 or 5 blocks a night. So while highly valuable, the Hawks ended up trading Deke after 4.5 years for Thea Ratliff, Nazi Muhammad, the corpse of Tony Kukoc, and a porn star named Pepe Sanchez. Only to find out that Philly later dumped Mutombo to the Nets for Todd McCullough and Keith Van Horn. My point being, even though he was a repeat All-Star, back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year, and now he is a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame for reasons that, I won't go into here, I just don't like token jersey retirements. I think it's silly. I think it's, it takes away the value of having your number in the rafters. Now, Mo, I know you'd love to see Steph Curry's 30 retired first thing next week, but I got to ask you, and I'll float this with everyone after you, what does a player actually got to do to get his number retired? Because now it seems like you can just show up and they're going to eventually retire your number. Where do you stand on numbers going up into the rafters?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure if I have an answer off the bat. I mean, the first thing I think of, honestly, is like longevity with the team and a level of excellence while you've been there. I'm not, winning is not really that important because there are teams out there that are going to retire guys who just contributed to the franchise for an extended period of time at a certain level of excellence, right? There are teams out there that sadly have like 1 or 2 jerseys up there and like, geez, kind of makes it look kind of grim. So maybe they're throwing more out there than they should whether it be for marketing reasons or just so it's not as sad as another teams. But I think it would be longevity, be there for an extended period of time, of consistent, excellent play, or at least brought up championships.
So what's your minimum? What's your minimum? Mutombo was in Atlanta for 4.5 years. What's your minimum? You're saying an 8 to 10-year minimum? What do you say?
Yeah, unless you're bringing championships. Like, because we can always ask, is Miami going to retire LeBron at the end of his career because he only spent X amount of time, but he brought championships? So 5 to 7 years if there's no chip. If there's a chip, maybe 3 to 4 years. Just if it's multiple chips, 3 to 4 years. Maybe 7 years if no chip.
But how about the Celtics when they have like when they have 20 numbers retired?
Right.
They have so many numbers retired.
They deserve it, though. It goes from franchise to franchise, and that's part of the thing, too. Like, some of these teams don't have a lot of numbers retired, like the Hawks, and maybe they're looking for it. You know, maybe this is what they have to do to kind of get some fanfare going. I don't know. Every team is different. That's why it's a hard question to answer. But the other thing of longevity or transcendence is probably the best way to start.
Right. I was going to say, too, that interestingly, though, LeBron couldn't wear 23 in Miami because Miami had already retired Michael Jordan's number, even though he kicked their butts for 10 straight years. It didn't make any sense to me that you would retire a competitor's number. It's not like, Dallas is going to retire Shaq's number because he came in and, or Kobe's number or whatever the case may be. So should the NBA ever retire a number league-wide? Should Jordan's 23 just be put on the same pedestal as Gretzky's 99 or another sports, sacred
Jackie
number?
Robinson's 41. 42, I'm sorry. That's a good question. How about that? Should Michael Jordan's number be retired league-wide?
A number's that sacred. That's the question. A number's that sacred. Is Michael Jordan that sacred to basketball?
Wayne Gretzky, if you want to talk about the hockey, he was head and shoulders the greatest. Jackie Robinson is mostly because of cultural reasons. Michael Jordan, yes, he's the best of all time, but people can make a compelling argument that other people were just as close, if not better, some people would say. So I would say, close with Jordan, but probably not to make it league-wide. I know his impact from a marketing standpoint was huge, but not good enough to retire a number league-wide.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Okay. Has anybody got a number that they want to see put in the rafters? Mo, I know you're a big Dallas fan. Do you want to see Dallas number retired?
Rodman.
I think, of course, once KG finishes up his career, Minnesota has one jersey retired. It's Malik Sealy. There's just one jersey up there. I know, it's pretty bad.
Rest in peace, buddy. Wow. That's why, though.
So they're going to need to put that KG jersey up there immediately.
That's like Drazen Petrovic. If someone dies untimely, their numbers get retired too.
That's right. So they have nobody else there, if I'm not mistaken, in Minnesota. So I think that KG jersey is going to have to be up there.
You wouldn't retire Christian Laettner and Isaiah Rider's numbers? Man, they were important for like 5 seconds.
Plus, Isaiah Rider, the East Bay Funk Dunk. Who doesn't want that?
How about Spree?
Laettner is debatable.
You know what we need to speak about another overtime, guys, is how easy compared to the other sports it is to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's a joke. It really is. We need to really speak about that another OT, because now I'm fired up about this retired number crap. The Hall of Fame stuff, I could speak about it for a long time. So we definitely need to see another OT.
And the Hall of Fame is not an NBA thing. It's a basketball Hall of Fame. So they can just kind of grab anybody. Yeah, I'm with you there.
They can get people from the NCAA, from FIBA, and then it's still part of the basketball.
Wait, real quick, before we end, though, and we're still talking about the retired numbers, is LeBron going to be retired in Miami?
He should.
Yes. Who do they got up there? They got Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, and of course Jordan.
They've had a better run than both of them.
For sure he's got to be retired there.
Right, and his
number should only be retired after Dwayne Wade's.
Oh, Dwayne Wade has to get it first. I don't think there's a question about that. Yeah. I mean, Dwayne Wade, his body parts need to be retired too, because he put everything on the line for that franchise.
Who else has? I'm trying to think of other teams that have kind of sad retired jersey numbers. Again, some of them with death related, like Charlotte Hornets.
Who do the Clippers have? Who the hell do the Clippers have?
Seriously,
they've been a horrible franchise.
I don't think they. They have zero.
Maybe McAdoo as a Buffalo Brave before they became the Clippers.
Yeah, no, I don't think they have. I don't think they have a single person as well.
So
all right, we got to get in here.
Chris Paul and Blake are going to get their numbers retired pretty easily there.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. All right, let's say we got to go now, by the way. Our episode is done, but thanks for a rather interesting question, Brad, for our overtime segment. This has been the Full Court Report. We appreciate all the downloads that we are getting. I know the management here with our network seems to be kind of happy with some of the stats that have been presented to us. So thank you again for all the support. Guys, around the room, as we do every episode, let's just kind of wrap it up with one sentence. Brad, Sydney, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I was just going to say that don't mention the show stats to Paul George because he's having none of it. But I do want to say that there have been some cool little entrants to the EA Sports NBA Live 16 giveaway. So I'm going to DM everybody who entered and let those lucky winners receive their prizes this week. So thanks everybody for participating. More games, more questions will be put up on my feed at Backpack Baller. So check that out. Thanks a lot.
All right. How about you, Chris, in New York?
At Not Bill Walton, as always. And I want to say, because we give props to Philippines and to a degree US for downloading this podcast. Also props to Singapore for downloading it too. Number 5 on the sports list.
Sweet.
Props to Singapore. Love you guys. Keep on downloading. So there you go.
Singapore La, thank you so much. Gino, what do you got?
Follow that at Gino Rufino at JINNORUFINO. That's on Twitter and on Instagram.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at DJ Motwista as well as on Instagram. We'll see you again in a couple of days. We'll have an episode sooner. Our next episode will be kind of, in terms of days off, will be sooner because this is one day late. I was out of town, so thanks for being patient with that. We should have another show for you guys. Thanks for you guys, too, for accommodating it. Wednesday night, U.S., Thursday, Asia, Australia. And in the meantime, we're going to say goodnight to all of you guys. Thank you so much for downloading our show, and we'll see you next time. It's been the Full Court Report. Bye, everybody.
Bye.